Welcome friends! Today I'm going to show you how you can take all those old CDs that you have and turn them into really pretty tiles for mosaics and for embellishing your art. I have a little bit of my CHAMPA burning, which I really like to burn incense while I create. It inspires me, puts me in that sort of leave me alone, I'm doing art mood, so I like that. Yes. These tiles won't break. Very nice. And you can do whatever shape and whatever sizes that you'd like. I just like making these inches because these fit in well with a lot of different projects that I can do, jewelry, and then also just for mosaics. And they're really, really fun to make. Highly addicting. I made a few, to be honest, I made a few hundred probably, you know, about 3 or 4 months ago, and I started getting ready to record this video for you all, and I was super excited, and I'm going to make probably another few hundred of different colors and whatnot to add to my collection, because these have been going like crazy into projects. So here we go. So what you really want to start with is you want to get these CDs into this form. And this is just an inch, roughly an inch square of plastic from the CDs. I also stamp my CDs, or at least half of them that I cut up, because you're going to be layering these two together and putting paint in the center, and that's what's going to make it stick together. Oh, my puppies are waking up. And then they'll melt together really nicely. So stick around, and I'm going to show you how to make these awesome CD tiles. So first, what you're going to want to do is collect CDs, old CDs. These are mostly CDRs, TDX, CDR. Yeah, most of these are the CDR Memorex brand. So let's go ahead and start with one of these. What you want to do is to scrape this film off of the CD. I've got a little screwdriver here. Just want to kind of scrape back and forth, and what you want to see is it flaking off like this. But don't worry, you don't have to do this whole CD with just this. You can use anything with a nice sharp point to it. Screwdriver, X-Acto knife. You get it to this point, and you're going to get a piece of tape. This is the Scotch shipping packaging tape. It's heavy duty. I tried using other types of tapes for this, but packaging tape seems to really work the best. So you're going to take this sticky side and put it back to the right side here. Sticky side here. And pull. And you're going to get that film. And you want to just keep going around until you can get as much as you can off. Now, some CDs are going to be much harder to do this to than others, so I suggest you go through what you have and scratch them a little bit, and if they flake, you know, give those a good, give those a try. Because it can be quite frustrating to do it in pieces. And you can use a couple pieces of tape. You don't have to try to get it all onto this one piece. I must tell you that having a whole bunch of strips of this type of tape, this paper, is actually quite nice. I've been using it for a lot of my journaling and putting it in different projects. So you can stamp on top of it. You can also use cutouts, so you can make confetti or, you know, really holographic stars or whatever stamps that you might have, or cutouts. So yeah, like I was saying, try to get as much as you can off of this. It doesn't have to be perfect. Some CDs you're going to be able to get almost completely clean. Some CDs you're not. I mean, if you work at it and you have all the time in the world, you probably will, but I am not that patient. The CDs that you can get clean easily, do your best to get them clean as much as possible, because you're going to have a lot more CDs that you can't get clean all the way, and you're going to want some of the clear ones. Although having some of this film on this finished product really does look quite nice. So I'm going to say that's good. Do as you wish. I've got a whole couple pages in a book now that I've been saving this up to use. You can throw it away if you'd like, but holographic, very nice. Once you have your CD cleaned off, you're going to want to go ahead and cut it into an inch squares. That way, well, that's what I like to do, is to cut it into inch squares. That way you can use them as mosaics. A lot of other things are, you know, inch square that you use for embellishments. But you can make them as you like. So I'm just going to draw in here very roughly. And this pen that I'm using is an Inkzall. It's a Milwaukee. I got it at Home Depot. It really does mark on just about anything, which is really nice. Let's see if I can't get you a better. Once you have your grid on your CD, go ahead and flip it over. And this is where we're going to put some images on here. Dina Wakley. I'm using it for the music notes. And then some Stays On Jet Black. I like this ink. It's my go-to ink. It's not exclusively the only ink that I use, but like I said, it is my go-to. And I'm just inking the part that I'm gonna be using with the music notes. And then just kind of look at which ones are gonna be your best ones on here, your full inch squares. Put my stamp over. I try to, when I'm doing a project, put all my things that I'm going to need to clean in one spot, so I remember to clean them. Alright, so we have now some music notes. Alright, the next step is some heavy-duty scissors. These scissors can cut through aluminum. They can cut through 20 gauge wire. They can cut through heavy plaster and other kind of coarse materials. They're also pretty decent at cutting CDs. So I got these also at a home improvement store. A streamer friend of mine on Twitch, her name is Pharewings. She does a lot of chainmail and she wraps all her tools with this stretchy gauze, and it really truly is a lifesaver for your hands. This is a taxing cut and your hands will get tired if you're doing a lot of them. So wrapping the tools really does help. So what I'm going to do is cut on my lines. Now, when you're using these scissors and doing this type of art, do be careful. You know where all your fingers are. Wear protective eyeglasses. Be smart. If you hurt yourself, you're not going to be able to art for a while, and for me not to be able to do some sort of creating every day is one of the worst things that can happen to me. I need to create. I love to create. It really helps my days be wonderful. Now these CDs can shatter while you're cutting them, so just be careful. And there's lots of sharp edges, so just be smart about it. And then you're going to cut these into your inch squares. Just like that. Go through, cut all these. You're gonna have a lot of little ends and odd pieces. What I do is then cut out the largest rectangle or square I can from this piece. That way I can use it to make the smaller pieces for my mosaics and for my embellishments. Right now we're just gonna work on doing some of these larger inch size ones. So remember, while you're doing the stamping, you're going to want to have another CD clear. That way when we put the paint inside here and squish it all together, you'll still see your image. I really like these. I really like these for jewelry. I really like these for, like I said, mosaics. I'm making this large mosaic table out on my deck, and I was looking around for, I hadn't done any kind of mosaic sort of craft before, and I was looking around at all the different things I could get to fill in my mosaics, you know, all the tiles and whatnot. And then I, you know, started making some polymer clay tiles and some little thick, you know, real thick paper tiles. And when I started making these tiles, I realized that these would be great as mosaic tiles. And because you melt them, they're weatherproof. So awesome. All right, so I'm gonna stop here, get set up for the painting process, and then we'll do that, and then get them in the oven, melt them, and have a finished product. So stick around. Okay, I'm ready to get painting these now. I've got a few colors picked out. Some of my paints are getting a little old, so I'm trying to use up some of these colors. This is a cut up piece of contact paper. I get this at the Dollar Tree. A dollar, you know, where everything's $1. I really like using this contact paper because I can put it right onto my table, put my colors on here, use it as a palette, and then I can just take it off and throw it away when I'm done. And this piece is also good for that also. So we have some lavender and some, I think this is just purple. This is the multi-surface folk art, and this is the acrylic paint. Oh. This is some really old acrylic paint in burnt sienna. Folk art extreme glitter, and this is in silver. Also folk art, multi-surface. And this one is wicker white, patina, bright pink, and pink pearl. Now when I do these tiles, I do like to use a pearl or glitter or both, or you know, something along with the paint to give it that little bit of extra pop. Alright. So we have these tiles here, the clear ones, and then the stamped image. So what we're going to do is find the stamped image side. We're going to place that on top of the clear. And we're going to add color right here. A good amount for such a small little tile, so that way it squishes to the edge. If it squishes out, it's okay, but if you can do it where not a whole lot squishes out, that's a little less cleanup in the end, which is nice. So we're gonna take the white here. Oh. One of my kitties is waking up underneath my table. Mr. Anubis. He's my oldest kitty right now. So you want to make sure you get your white on here, or your color on here pretty well, because your paint's also going to act as an adhesive until these are melted. And along with the white, let's do some of this purple. And you can just put it on any way you want. You can try to, you know, give it some character by spacing it out. Take the stamped tile, place it onto the clear tile, and we're going to squish. And you want the paint to be all the way to the edges if you can. So, squishing it around a little bit. It does get messy. You can clean up at the end. The nice thing too is once these have been dried for a while, you can trim the edges up with those scissors, which makes it really nice finished product. There's one. So let's continue doing that on the rest of these tiles. One thing to keep in mind is if you're doing a project like a mosaic project, for example, you're going to want a lot of similar tiles to work with. So if you go to do a whole batch of these at a time, which is what I like to do a batch of, you know, whatever you can get out of, a few CDs, paint them and do the same color schemes on them, use the same paint. And then the next batch that I make, pick a couple colors from the last batch and then new colors and make make 50 to 100. And then the next batch, some of those colors from the first batch, some colors from the second batch, and then new colors. So you get my drift. Sorry about that. I get pretty fatigued easily if I'm using my hands doing little intricate work like this. So, but good thing is that was the last one of this little group. Take a look at these. I'm gonna do some cleanup. I'm gonna take this leftover paint and smear it into a journal page to use later. And I will be back and we'll talk about the melting process. Okay, so we have the tiles made. Now here's the long part. These tiles need to dry. The paint in between the plastic really needs to dry. It will affect the outcome of the tile itself if they are not dry. If there's still some dampness in between these tiles when you bake them, because you're baking them at the highest temperature that your toaster oven, there's going to be condensation and you don't want that. That's going to create large bubbles. I mean, they look cool. I mean, do some like that because they get very, very craterous and they have large bubbles that come, you know, popping out of them, and they're pretty cool looking, but they don't have the nice flat surface on the top, so you wouldn't want to use them as a tile for like a mosaic project or something that you need to have flat, like in a journal or whatnot. So typically these will take a couple days to dry. Now we've been really hot here lately, so I'm gonna stick these outside in the sun tomorrow and dry these as fast as possible. Don't try to do them, you know, with a heat tool, you know, or the oven, you know, at a low temperature. They just need to naturally dry for, you know, a couple days. You'll know when they're dry when the tiles don't move around. You'll be able to pick these up and not pull these apart or slide these apart. So, not the funnest part of this project, but give it a day or two. Let these fully dry. In the meantime, go crazy. Make a ton. I'm going to. Again, so dry. 2 days minimum, or if you're really hot outside in the sun. After that, we're going to place these onto a cooking surface. This is just a pizza pan that I got from the dollar store. You know, I'll take it off of this foam, put it onto the plate, and then we're going to take it to my toaster oven. Doing this indoors, there are going to be some fumes. While doing this project, I haven't had an issue with the fumes. I have always turned on air filtration and opened windows, put a fan in, and really there's not that much of a smell. But you still are melting plastic, and I'm sure there's some sort of toxic fumes. So if you can, do this in a toaster oven and do it outside. I'm lucky enough that I can do this out in my garage. When you put them in the oven, you're going to put them at the highest temperature possible that your oven can go to. Most toaster ovens, I believe, go to 450. They're going to take some time. You're pretty sure that it's not going to be within the first 15 minutes that these are going to melt. And you have to keep an eye on them. Don't walk away. Don't have something else going on. Make sure, you can focus on this and not leave the area where they're melting, because it's a guess on your oven and how your oven temperature or holds temperature. So I'm gonna do these, the last few batches that I've done, same size, same paints, acrylics, may not be the same brand, but similar. Took about 30 minutes, but I will get back to you and show you the finished tiles They really are going to be lovely. I can't wait for you to see them. Okay. So here they are, cooled off and out of the oven. Now, these are stuck. That's why I like these trays, because you can manipulate them and just pop these guys off. This one has a little skull on it. See, this has a little piece of the CD film on it still. So, like I said, sometimes it does add to the piece itself. Some music notes. Move the pan down to the lowest rack and put a piece of aluminum foil on the top rack. You don't want the aluminum foil to touch the tiles because it would adhere to them and it'd be there forever. Having aluminum foil on the top rack above this pan keeps the element that's in your toaster oven from getting these too hot where they bubble up like huge bubbles with air and really distort the tile. I'm in the middle of doing a whole bunch more. I've got some drying, some almost ready to go in that I will add to the end of this video and show you the batch that I did this time. So I really hope you give this a try. They're really, really fun to make. The batches that I'm working on right now, I'm adding mica powder to them. I'm adding like aluminum foil flakes, like the glitter but the larger flakes, like this. So when I'm putting the paint on, I'm putting a little bit of the glitter on top of it, so when I smush them together you can see some of the glitter, which is really nice. The mica powder is doing the same thing, and it's making it, you know, really, really sparkle. So I'm excited to see what they look like after they're dried and melted. So there we have it. Awesome embellishments you can make from your old CDs. You can definitely clear out your old CD stash really quickly over a matter of a few months if you just get crazy and make a ton of these like I did. There's our finished tiles made from old CDs. I'll take some pictures also, so that way they and get a little bit of a clearer, more up close image of these, but these turned out really cool. And like always, I made a bunch. Which is good because the batch that I did a few months ago, I only have a few left. The ones that I put mica powder in turned out beautiful. I will definitely be doing that again. They did leave a little more of a odor in the air while I cooked them, and I'm thinking it must have been the mica powder. Get you nice up and close here. You can see the music notes on some of them, all the different types of stamps. Really turned out pretty. So there we go. A few of them bubbled, which you're always going to have some bubbles, but they actually look really cool. Thinking I'll wrap this one in some wire, maybe make a charm out of it. Some bubbled. This one here bubbled, but it brought the paint up along with it, so it just looks really cool. So yeah, you're going to want most of them to be flat so that they're easier to use on your journal pages and your canvases and your different projects. The bubble ones really aren't that bad. I'm sure I will find plenty of things to do with those. And I only had a few bubble up. This one did a real big bubble. Sticking out there. Not too many of them bubbled. I did probably over 200 again this time. So on some of these I used the folk art paints, some Delusions paints. These are Delusions paints by Ranger. And then the mica powders that I've used, I used these mica powders, the Perfect Pearls. And I think I pretty much stuck with the white ones. This is, I think, just a pearl. And it's just really fine powder, and they're very sparkly. So thanks for watching, guys, and join me. I'd love to hear from you. And hit that subscribe button if you'd like to see more of this. Thanks for watching. Love and sunshine.